The 1970s. Disco was king. Bell bottoms ruled the fashion scene. But in the quiet corners of Connecticut, something else was brewing. Something strange. Something unsettling. The nights were long, the shadows deep, and in those shadows whispers began. Whispers of the Melon Heads. Every compelling legend needs a memorable monster. And the Melon Heads? They were undeniably distinctive. Picture, if you can, a figure hiding in the darkness. Its body, small, almost childlike, but its head, grotesquely large, bulbous, hairless, like a watermelon on a stick. Hence the name. Theories about their origins ran rampant. Some whispered of a secret laboratory, hidden deep in the woods. There, a Dr. Crow, because every good monster story needs a mad scientist, experimented on children, deforming them, twisting them into these creatures. Others claimed the Melon Heads were the descendants of a colony of people ostracized for their unusual appearance, forced to live in the shadows.
They said I was mad, but I was only pushing the boundaries of science. They didn't understand.
Many encounters share a common theme. Imagine this. You're driving alone on a deserted country road in the dead of night. The trees close in on both sides, their branches like skeletal fingers trying to ensnare you. Your headlights catch something odd in the rearview mirror. A small figure, head too large, running. You floor the gas pedal, heart racing. Section 5. Teenage Adventures and Melon Head Hunts. By the 1980s, the legend of the Melon Heads had become a rite of passage for teenagers. It was a story that had been passed down through generations, growing more elaborate and terrifying with each retelling. The Melon Heads were said to be deformed, humanoid creatures lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting visitors. Kids would pile into their cars, armed with flashlights and maybe a little liquid courage. The thrill of the unknown and the promise of a good scare were irresistible. They'd gather their friends, sometimes even those who were skeptical, and set out on a night filled with anticipation and dread. They'd drive out to the supposed Melon Head haunts, daring each other to get out and look for the creatures. The locations varied. Abandoned buildings, dense forests, and desolate roads were all fair game. Each spot had its own set of stories and warnings, making the adventure even more spine-chilling. More often than not, they found nothing but their own imaginations running wild. Every rustle of leaves, every distant sound, was amplified in the darkness. The fear was palpable, but so was the excitement. It was a test of bravery, a way to prove oneself to peers, and maybe a speeding ticket or two. The police were well aware of these nocturnal escapades and often patrolled the known hotspots. Getting caught was part of the risk, adding another layer of thrill to the adventure.
Yeah, we used to go out there all the time. It was almost like a rite of passage. If you hadn't gone melonhead hunting, you were missing out on a crucial teenage experience. The stories we heard were enough to make anyone's hair stand on end. It was like, if you didn't go melonhead hunting at least once, you weren't cool. Everyone had their own version of the tale, and each one was more terrifying than the last. The fear of the unknown was a powerful motivator, driving us deeper into the woods or further down abandoned roads. We never saw anything, but man, the stories we told. Each outing became a legend in its own right, with tales of near encounters and unexplained phenomena. Even though we never found the Melon Heads, the experience was unforgettable. It was about the journey, the camaraderie, and the thrill of the hunt. Those nights were filled with laughter, fear, and a sense of adventure that defined our teenage years. The Melon Head hunts were more than just a search for mythical creatures. They were a way for us to bond, to test our courage, and to create memories that would last a lifetime. In the end, it didn't matter if the Melon Heads were real or just a figment of our collective imagination. What mattered was the thrill of the chase, the stories we shared, and the friendships we forged along the way. Those nights out in the dark, searching for something we couldn't quite define, were some of the best times of our lives. As the sun rose and the night gave way to day, we would head back home, tired but exhilarated. The Melon Head hunts were over, but the memories would stay with us forever. They were a testament to the power of storytelling, the allure of the unknown, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship.
Chapter 6. Old Jim and the Moonlight Melon. This tale has been whispered around campfires and in hushed tones at the local tavern for years. It's a story that has grown with each retelling, much like the mysterious Melon Head itself. There was Old Jim, a man of many stories, but none as peculiar as this one. He was a fixture in the town, known for his tall tales and eccentric behavior. He swore up and down he saw a melon head peering at him through his kitchen window one night. It was a quiet evening, the kind where the only sound is the rustling of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. Jim was in his kitchen preparing his late-night snack when he felt a chill run down his spine. He claimed it was the size of a beach ball, that head. He described it in vivid detail, the way the moonlight glinted off its smooth surface, casting eerie shadows that danced on his kitchen walls.
I tell you, it was right there looking at me with those big old eyes. Eyes that seemed to pierce right through me like they were looking into my very soul. It was the most unsettling thing I've ever experienced. Head as big as a beach ball, I swear. And those eyes, they were like nothing I've ever seen before. They had a glow to them, almost like they were reflecting the moonlight in a way that no normal eyes could.
Of course, Old Jim was known to dabble in a little homemade moonshine. He had a reputation for brewing some of the strongest stuff in the county, a concoction that could make even the most seasoned drinker see things that weren't there. The kind that makes you see double, or in this case, melon-headed. But Jim was adamant that this was no moonshine-induced hallucination. He was as sober as a judge that night, or so he claimed.
Ain't no moonshine that strong, Sonny. I've been drinking my own brew for years and I know what it can do. This was different. This was real as you and me standing here. I know what I saw, and I'll take that to my grave. The melon head is out there, somewhere in the shadows, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to catch a glimpse of its eerie visage. So, if you ever find yourself alone on a moonlit night and you feel like you're being watched, just remember Old Jim's story. You never know what might be lurking in the darkness.
Chapter 7. Echoes of Estes Park. And then there was the infamous Estes Park incident, a tale that has been whispered around campfires and in hushed tones for years. Now, Estes Park is all the way out in Colorado, but bear with me. This story is worth the journey. Seems a group of tourists swore they saw a melon head run across the road in front of their car. Imagine the scene, a dark, winding road, the headlights cutting through the night, and then out of nowhere, a figure dashes across. They were so convinced of what they saw that they called the police and everything. Panic and fear gripped them as they waited for help to arrive.
Oh, it was the strangest thing. This creature just darted out in front of us. We were so scared we called the police right away. Our hearts were pounding and we could barely breathe.
Turns out it was just a bear cub. A very large, very round-headed bear cub. The officers who arrived on the scene couldn't help but chuckle at the misunderstanding.
Well, it sure looked like a melon head in the dark. In that moment of fear, our minds played tricks on us, turning an innocent animal into a creature of legend.
Just goes to show, sometimes the legends are all in our heads. Our imaginations can run wild, especially in the dark, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. The Estes Park incident is a perfect example of how our minds can create monsters out of shadows. It's a reminder that while legends and myths are fascinating, they often have roots in the mundane. So, the next time you hear a rustle in the bushes or see a shadow move, remember the bear cub of Estes Park. It might just be your mind playing tricks on you. And as you sit around your own campfires sharing stories of the unknown, think of Estes Park. Let it remind you of the thin line between reality and imagination, and how easily we can blur that line with a touch of fear and a dash of darkness. Estes Park, a place of beauty and mystery, where the echoes of legends linger in the air, waiting for the next curious soul to listen and wonder. Section 8. Melon Heads and Moonshine, a likely connection. Now, I'm not saying that every melon head sighting can be attributed to an overactive imagination or one too many swigs of moonshine, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Section 9. The power of a good story. See, that's the thing about legends. They take on a life of their own. They get passed down, embellished, twisted. What starts as a spooky story whispered around a campfire becomes a cautionary tale told to keep kids in line at night. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, there's a kernel of truth buried somewhere beneath the layers of exaggeration and folklore.
And who knows?
Maybe, just maybe, there's a kernel of truth buried somewhere beneath the layers of exaggeration and folklore.
Chapter 10. The Melon Heads, a legacy of laughter and lore. But whether the Melon Heads are real or not is almost beside the point, because in the end, they've given us something to talk about, something to laugh about, something to be just a little bit afraid of in the dark. And isn't that what a good legend is all about? Section 11. Keep your eyes peeled. So the next time you find yourself driving down a dark and lonely road in Connecticut, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what you might see lurking in the shadows. It might just be a melon head, or it might just be your imagination playing tricks on you. But either way, it makes for a good story, doesn't it?